Alright, attempt to number the second because I messed up something in the last recording, but this is going to be my little tutorial on how you can set up Vixen to control your OpenRGB devices for creating light shows and whatnot. So you're going to want to find yourself the E1.31 receiver and get that installed, which will then give you this window. In OpenRGB, for every device that you want to control, you need to add a universe and add your device's controller to that said universe. Once you've got all of that set up, for this demonstration I'm just going to use this Unreal Engine Linear, which has 10 LEDs. And then once you've got that set up, you're going to set up display, which is where you're going to add yourself a streaming ACN or E1.31 controller for each one of the devices that you want to control for your light show. So for this, I'm just going to name this UE Linear so that it can basically be correct. For this outputs on controller, you're going to want to set this to 3 times your LED count, because for each LED there needs to be 3 color channels. So for this, we need 30 outputs. Double click on here to get your the device properties, and you're basically going to check that the universe is set to the right universe for this device, and then you're going to set the universe size or the size to 30 because you have 30 outputs for this controller. Once you've done that, make sure that your destination is set to the unicast 127.0.0.1, basically your local network, and then hit OK. That will ensure that now this controller is going to control 30 or is going to send out 30 channels of data to OpenRGB to control these 10 LEDs. So there's 3 channels for every LED, meaning that we need 30 outputs. Once you've done that, under Elements, go and add yourself a single item and name it whatever you would like your device to be called. You do not want to configure a dimming curve. You want it to be set to RGB, and that's that. Once you're at this point, I want you to right click on your single item, click on Add Multiple, change this to 10 because you have 10 LEDs that you're wanting to control, and then click OK. It will then give you a list of elements here. Go ahead and highlight all of the newly created elements and click on this little settings configure wheel here. You're going to make sure that they are set to color order RGB and hit OK. At this point, you are ready to link your 2 controllers together. You should have 30 total patch points and 30 outputs on your selected controller, and you're just going to hit patch elements. This is going to go ahead and connect all your elements here to the outputs of this controller, which looks like this in the graphical view. Once that's done, at this point you can go ahead and do the same thing for everything that you want to control, but at this point you should be able to hit OK, start a new sequence. Of course, make sure that the receiver is started, and then if we add, let's say, this wipe effect. Okay, the wipe effect won't work. We won't do wipe. Let's say we do the chase effect. This should now be outputting to the controller on OpenRGB, which it is. Great success. Another thing I recommend you do is go over here to the options and set the update interval to something like 20 milliseconds, because this is basically like, you could think of it as like the frame rate. So if you were to look at the difference between 50 milliseconds, if you were to look at the difference between 50 milliseconds versus 20, you should be able to notice a difference in the update smoothness. Probably not, but I recommend at least around 20 to 16 milliseconds, because that will ensure that you have a smooth looking light show. So once you've done that, if you would like to create groups of elements so that you can set up, like for example on an LED strip you could have the left hand side and the right hand side, it's very simple to do. All you need to do is head over to your setup display again, highlight the 3 or so elements, whatever elements you want to put into a group, and then right click and say create group. Name this, I'm just going to name it UE left because it might be the left hand side. Once that's done, you will have a group of elements that are basically in their own little world but will control the same thing. So if we go ahead and restart the editor or the sequence editor, you will see you now have a new place with only those selected items. So this could be all of them, and this would be just the left of it. So that would look like that. Now, if you want to add your music into the editor, you're basically going to go to the edit. Is it edit? No, it's tools, audio, associate audio, and then at this point you would go and select whatever audio you want for your light show. It will then chuck it in on the top here, and then you can start playing and making your light show. In the end, what you will probably end up with, if I restart Vixen, is something that looks like my profile here, where I have a bunch of groups for specific devices and rows, which I then use in my light shows, if we just ignore the preview, to then go ahead and create all the stunning visual effects that I have. This might take you some time to get used to, but essentially this is what one of my projects looks like. So yeah, let me know how it goes. I'm not sure if this is a very good tutorial, but I hope it is somewhat helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, and I will try and answer them. Anyway, bye.